We are pretty much a drug-based consumer in the global health industry. And my worry is that what the drug-based pharmaceutical industries are actually trying to do is get us medicalized for our entire life. They only make money when we're sick. And if you don't believe me, and I can see you don't believe me, but let me tell you, a little while ago in the UK, there was a conference with the pharmaceutical industry, and they were suggesting, with some credibility, that we should start prescribing statins for 16-year-olds upwards. Actually, many years ago, there were two options. There was homeopathy, and there was the science method. The science method was actually introduced in the early 1900s, but homeopathy went back to the 1700s. And homeopathy included herbalism, nutrition-based therapies, indigenous medicine, and other traditional systems, including things like Chinese medicine. But the key here is the emphasis was on the body's self-healing capability, lifestyle, natural agents, and diet, and not synthetic chemicals or surgeries which we now come to rely on. So the question is, if that was the predominant way of us understanding what is wrong with our bodies and healing, what happened? What happened was there was a report in 1910, it was called the Flexner Report, and after that the axe fell on homeopathy and natural remedies. Basically, every medical school in the US was measured on this report. And any school that didn't match up to the scientific method, i.e. not homeopathy, was very cleverly shut down by the withdrawal of funding. And about half of the schools in the US basically disappeared. This happened in parallel with the Rockefeller Foundation, because they then started to fund the science schools and hence defund the others. So really, the natural remedy medical schools absolutely stood no chance whatsoever. Additionally, if doctors continued to prescribe and diagnose diseases and problems based on the old methods, the homeopathy methods, then they could lose their license. So it's pretty much game over. Ironically, Rockefeller himself used and praised homeopathy for most of his life. And indeed, some of the problems he had were treated using the homeopathy method. He said, homeopathy is a progressive and aggressive step in medicine. You treat the patient and not the disease. That is the fundamental issue we've got today, because it's the disease that's been treated, not the person. But he never funded homeopathy. And why, you may ask, was that? Well, there's two particular reasons. One is, and I'm sorry, Rockefeller, but it wasn't patentable because it was natural. If it's not patentable, you can't defend your investment, and therefore, why would you invest? And you can't protect your incomes, which in the pharmaceutical industry are really quite massive. The second thing, he was already a big supplier into the science-based method. His oil-based products were used a lot in the synthetic manufacture of pharmaceuticals, and by pursuing and funding the scientific method in medical schools, he was effectively protecting and building future income. So I'm afraid, money won in the end. Rockefeller didn't just fund modern medicine, he basically reshaped the rules, he cut off the money and redefined what real medicine was. Now, I'm not doubting that some great things, some big cures came through the creation of the sort of pharmaceuticals we rely on today. My problem is that it will turn into over-reliance, and secondly, what could have happened if we'd allowed investment and innovation in what was originally called homeopathy? I suspect we'd have had not just having some fantastic remedy for things, but we'd have been treating patients with lifestyle and food and diet, and that we know contributes massively to the chronic diseases that we face today.